Hello friends and welcome back to lesson number 10. We are studying manufacturing sector in India and this is the 8th video of this lesson. And up till now friends, we have studied what are the various issues in the manufacturing sector, what we could not achieve in the manufacturing sector in terms of increasing its share in GDP, in terms of generating employment, and why the LPG policy did not really help manufacturing sector, but instead helped the service sector to grow much more than the manufacturing sector. So we saw all those things. Now in this video we will focus on what India must do to boost its labor intensive exports, because we are a labor rich country. We have a lot of population and population which translates into working age population and further into labor force. So in order to give employment to these people into non-agricultural sectors, we need to have some policies which will encourage such industries which are labor intensive, and thereby also helping the labor intensive exports. So if we manufacturing it, only then we will be able to export it. So what are some of the ways in which we can do it or we should do it? First is we need to build integrated mega clusters. Okay, this is very important because manufacturing sector works in clusters. Okay, so cluster based manufacturing sectors are the most successful ones because of the availability of inputs, because of the availability of an ecosystem whereby it is cheaper to produce a good compared to producing it in silos in different areas. So cluster based manufacturing is very successful when it comes to boosting manufacturing sector. So plug and play manufacturing parks, this we have seen in the previous video. What is the meaning of this? With CETPs meaning common effluent treatment plant. For example, if there is an area, a park where there are 100 factories and there is one common CETP, okay, to treat the effluents coming from this industry, and this can be shared by all these 100 factories, so individual cost will reduce. So that is the benefit of having a cluster. Then there can be design studios which can cater to all these different industries. There can be testing labs, maybe one integrated big testing lab where all these industries can patronize and then they can use that lab. Worker accommodation, there can be a colony of the workers, labor force, and it can be cheaper for them to have housing, logistics access. So there are different benefits. For textiles, leather, footwear, toys, light engineering, food processing, this is ideal in order to have in order to boost this manufacturing in these particular areas. It is always better to have clusters. Then reduce logistics cost to less than 10% of GDP. Currently it is around 14% in our country. We need to bring it down to less than 10%, because in China it is about 8 to 9% of GDP. In other countries it is even less. So we need to also work on this, because ultimately after producing you have to transport it, we have to sell it in the market. So logistics cost is equally important. So we need to expand the DFCs, which are the dedicated freight corridors. Gati Shakti, through which we are building highways, other infrastructure. Dedicated export corridors also need to be built. Then 24/7 customs should be there, so that we can receive the shipment, we can send the shipment. Faster port clearances, container digitalization. Again, use of technology for making our external trade more efficient. Then next one is fully implement the labor codes. So fixed term employment, simplified compliance encourages scaling beyond 300 workers, creates competitiveness closer to Bangladesh and Vietnam. So we need to simplify our labor codes. We already done that, but full implementation is needed. Then the next one is stable, predictable export incentives need to be there. So we need to have a stable RODTEP and ROSCTL. So what are these? So RODTEP is basically a scheme for remission of duties and taxes on exported products. Okay, so remission meaning that government gives back that money, gives back that tax that it has charged you. That is known as remission. of duties and taxes on exported products. This is a scheme of the government, and ROSCTL is scheme for rebate of state and central taxes and levies. Okay, so again similar scheme, but this is for other state and central tax and levies, and this is for taxes on exported products. So these two schemes must be stabilized so that people know that they will get these benefits if they export. Then avoid abrupt export bans, example on onions, rice, etc. Many a times in our country what happens is, we have abruptly, if there is a onion shortage in the market, so we'll ban the exports so that it is available in the domestic market and the prices will come down. So that should not happen actually. So abrupt export policy should not be there. Rationalize inverted duty structure. So what is IDS? Inverted duty structure meaning that, if in a manufacturing process, say A is the input and then you process it and then the output is B. Okay. So usually, and say for example, this output is charged at 18% GST, and input is charged at say 28% GST. So here what is happening? The input is getting charged at more GST than the output. This happens in some products. It should not happen. So this is called inverted duty, because usually the output should be charged at a higher GST than the input, but here the process is reverse. The structure of the duty is reversed. That's why it is called inverted duty structure. So this should be rationalized. This should be reduced. The government should focus, because there are hundreds and thousands of products, and in some cases this condition is there. It should be rationalized. It should be cleared up. So a lot of scope is there in order to, and because of this, what happens is that this incentivizes production of this commodity, because the seller is not able to charge his product at the same GST as the inputs for that. So this disincentivizes it, and therefore this must be corrected. If this is corrected, then obviously people will start manufacturing more and exporting more. Then deepen the local supply chains, encourage component manufacturing instead of final assembly only. So we need to manufacturing small components and not just bring it from China and other countries and assemble it here. So, and vendor development for MSMEs, common tool rooms and design centers. So this is, see, on paper it looks very easy to say, but in reality it is difficult. Component manufacturing is very, very difficult because it is techno heavy. You need to have that technology, you need to have that kind of skilled manpower, you need to have that kind of incentives, you need to have that kind of sandboxes, regulatory sandboxes, hubs, SEZs, so that this kind of startup ecosystem, so that this kind of activities are encouraged. Then targeted fiscal support need to be given. PLI type incentives for labor intensive sectors. Already, government is doing it. In 14 sectors, we have giving benefits of PLI, which is production linked incentives. Cheaper credit, interest subvention for export oriented MSMEs. This kind of fiscal support should be given. Then women centric workforce policies, safe transport, hostels, crèches, directly boost garment, footwear, electronic assembly sectors. Then FTA strategy, FTAs with EU, UK, Canada will help garments, leather, seafood, engineering goods and compete with Vietnam's FTA advantage. So Vietnam is a country which has entered into FTA, that is free trade agreements with a lot of countries, and that is its biggest advantage. It is getting the inputs cheaper, it is able to sell its products very, very easily. But at the same time, we also need to protect our domestic industries. We should not be exposed completely to the outside world, to this cheap products from other countries. So FTAs need to be very, very carefully seen, but we need to get into FTAs with these big countries so that there is a demand from these countries which we can cater to. The skill upgradation, as I have told you, without skills this is not possible. So production linked skilling for stitching, machinery, finishing, assembly operations, and apprenticeship reforms for shop floor training, that is also needed. In conclusion, what India needs to do in order to boost its labor intensive exports is that India's manufacturing underperformance is rooted in ecosystem failures, and not lack of demand or cost advantage. So these are not the big problems. Lack of demand is there from the global world. Cost advantage also not that much. We are also when it comes to cost, it's not like China or Vietnam are too cheaper than us. So that is not the problem. It is a problem of the ecosystem. It involves everything: scaling, logistics, permissions, bureaucracy. So many things are there. If India fixes clusters, logistics, labor flexibility, supply chains, and policy stability, labor intensive exports can become the main engine of mass employment and inclusive growth. So it is so promising, but we need to fix the entire ecosystem. So this can be your conclusion. If you write any answer on this, you need to conclude on this point. Okay, we'll continue discussing manufacturing sector in the next video also. Thank you.